Thanks a lot. Oh, sorry, go ahead. Okay, so we are at the last demonstration, but certainly not the least. This one is a little bit different, and the reason I say that is because we've looked at healthcare from the perspectives of patients, providers, but something we don't look at is natural disasters and preparedness. And this company, bReddi, has actually managed to find a way to incorporate social media, create lifelines, find ways to create a centralized platform for your family so you can have an established network even before a disaster occurs. They have a fantastic user design and a user interface, and I think they'll put on a great presentation. So I'd like to introduce David Vinson and Greg Orr from bReddi.
Thank you. Good afternoon. It's good to see everyone here today from Datapalooza. It's been a long couple of days, and I think here in DC, typically, as you look at the clock approaching the end of the day, we're the only thing that stands either between your evening social interactions or your airplanes back from where you've come. So we'll try to certainly be focused and give you an overview of the bReddi application that we've been so pleased to contribute to the Datapalooza conference this year. So as we get started, one of the things I thought I would do to bring a little bit of personalization to this particular discussion is when you think about the notion of hyper-personalization, and we look at it in three dimensions. The notion of social factoring, the one's interaction with one another. Two, this notion of human factor. How do we tailor the experience unique to you or based on your individual characteristics? But more importantly is this notion of emotionalization. How do we really connect with the individual at the time of need so they also begin to personalize and internalize it in a way that it brings value? And so when we think about the notion of bReddi and safety, let me personalize this for a moment with something I experienced back in 2010. I was traveling for business over in the UK. Woke up one morning, nice blue skies outside. I had just been there for a conference. I was looking forward to get home. As I got in the car, transported over to the airport, I arrived and Heathrow was quite backed up. And I couldn't understand, with my 4 hours of arrival preparedness, why things were so cluttered. As I arrived inside, folks said, "You're not going home today." I said, "Are you kidding me?" They said, "No." Unfortunately, even though the skies are blue there in the UK, there was this thing called a volcano plume that had erupted over in Iceland and was slowly moving across northeast Europe. 6 days later, I was still in London, trying to figure out a way to get out. Now here's my experience that caused me and my team to look at this as an opportunity last year in response to the Health and Human Services ASPR competition to create an app that drove lifeline connections during a potential natural disaster. Over the next 48 hours, cell phone coverage was clouded. Couldn't connect with one another. The only viable means of communicating besides using our 2 feet was text message. We created a relay system, and the team that I sort of socialized with at the hotel began to relay back and forth to the airport, to the rental car shuttle, to restaurants, while we queued to try to get resources during that time of unexpected event there in the UK. 6,000 euros later, we looked at our fees, our hotel bills, etc. We were finally able to get back into mainland Europe and return to our respective destinations. That personal event, where I was connecting with strangers, really compelled me to realize the power of social media. That in spite of one's economic status, one's origin, etc., when an event comes about unexpectedly, through the use of social media, the use of crowdsourcing, the power of reach of the internet, we could all become one and support humanity. And so what we would like to share with you today is the power of bReddi as it relates to a true consumer-centric solution or application that we want to bring to life. It's less about the app, it's about what the app brings to bear during a sentinel event or potential natural disaster. What we will share with you out there today is how the app will focus on 3 primary capabilities. 1, how do you prepare in anticipation of an unexpected disaster that may be set up on you or those within your social circle? What is the appropriate preparation? Second, how do you begin to think about maintenance or prevention as you begin to stay aware and move about the day-to-day life in anticipation of not if an event will occur, but when an event will occur? And how do we bring about this notion of enabling the consumer to own the moment, the right data and the right modality and the right channel so they can go about their day-to-day life and reconnect with their loved ones? And a lot of things that you think about is the ongoing preparation around the event. So to make sure you have those connections in place, your lifelines, the right resources and information, but also as you anticipate communicating going forward, how do you begin to go back into your community and be a part of the recovery process as a part of the local village? One of the things I've identified is that Facebook has been fantastic as one of the co-contributors along with the ASPR team with this competition that my team was fortunate to be one of the recipients or finalists of, is that Facebook has created a global community for connections. What we're trying to do is create this global village of relationships. Healthcare is local, relationships are local. And once we find areas of similar interest and context, that's where those small social pods begin to formulate around your particular area of interest or opportunity. So what we're going to share with you today, and I'd like you to join me if you might with your mobile computing device. And I want all of you, I'm from a family of 14, so as I travel about the world, I'm constantly getting texted and pinged and chattered with my family of 8 brothers and 6 sisters saying, where are you today and are you okay? And so what I would like to have you do is work with me and my colleague here. We're going to try to save Greg. Greg is out of Nevada. We're out of Nevada, Las Vegas, Nevada, where our corporate offices are. And as Greg was taking off, joining me out here in Baltimore and DC, the district here, his wife said, let's make sure he's okay. So we're going to test this situation here today and use bReddi as Greg has now come over to DC and he'll look to sort of walk us through the app and get prepared. So Greg, what's the first thing you need to do as you think about using the bReddi application?
Absolutely. There's 3 main pieces to the bReddi, and one is getting prepared, as David just talked about, is setting up a lifelines. You know, everyone's seen the movie Meet the Parents. Remember the circle? You got to set up that circle of friends that allows you to have somebody that's got your back in an emergency situation, and that's the first element of the bReddi, is to get prepared. Second is to monitor threats. So as you become prepared for these Sentinel events, you know, are they coming? Are they coming for you? Are they coming for your friend? Maybe you can start to get even more prepared during that emergency situation. And then third, during an actual event, how can you better facilitate communications with those lifelines and with others? So what I'm showing you now is the bReddi app. You can go to it directly. There's a mobile version, a tablet, a web. I've actually got it inside the Facebook canvas because we really believe that that's where people are. That's where they're more likely to use an app like this. But you can see that I've already set up my lifelines. These are the people that got my back. Notice David's on there. You got my back, right?
I got your back today.
And then I'm also lifelines for other people, meaning I've got their back, right? So in reciprocity, I've also got David's back in case something goes wrong there. I also set up things like meeting places, you know, within the city, out of town. I can set up key roles, so maybe certain lifelines could take on certain responsibilities like communications, transportation, or shelter, or things of that nature. Also, we've heard that in a large disaster type situation, you're pretty much on your own for 72 hours. You need to be prepared to survive on your own with you and your family for that first 72 hours. So the app will help educate and make it simple. I'm a checklist type guy. Just tell me what I got to do, you know, the old honey-do list. Check those things off. Honey-do, do this, and I can check those off. And that's what we did. We took government type data from Ready.gov, FEMA, and others, and just created simple checklists that you can do on your phone or on the web, and you simply go through. So if I want to prepare myself for a hurricane, if I'm in a hurricane type area, you know, simple things, make plans to secure your property, and be sure the trees are well trimmed in your area, things of that nature that I can go through on a regular basis, usually annually, click off these items and save it. And once I've saved that, I can actually earn badges. And badges are great for bragging rights for people that are on the app, but also it'll post that same badge onto Facebook to basically say, look, I've prepared my family for a hurricane or some sort of event, you know, have you? And we've enticed a lot of users, even in this initial phase as we've just released this during hurricane readiness period, and we've really spiked a lot, mostly because of that type of spread, being able to invite people to the app and being able to show off badges and things like that. Lastly, what's supposed to be in that emergency supply kit? We made it very easy that the person can go in to our e-store and purchase items like a survival kit, first aid kit, water that lasts for 5 years, etc. So you can really get yourself prepared for an emergency type situation. So the number 2 feature that I talked about was monitoring threats. Is a threat coming? Is everything green, yellow, or red? Very, very simple. We've taken data feeds from various government entities, including NOAA, USGS, Homeland Security, and others, and tried to take that data and make it very simple: green, yellow, red. So me here in the DC, it's tracked based on my Facebook profile or even a GIS tag from my last Facebook posting, and I can tell for my area, everything's in the green. It looks like maybe a little yellow in the flooding area for this FEMA region that I'm in. I can easily look at things like RSS feeds that pull in the latest data on particular types of disasters. And then more importantly, I can check out my own risk, but what about risks of my friends? This is a really cool feature that we added in. I can actually monitor the risk of my Facebook friends, whether or not they've installed the app. So based on permissions as you install the application, I can tell, as long as somebody's put in their current home city, I can tell actually what their risk level is based on their location. If they have the app, I can also see how many badges they've earned, right? So I can actually start to ping them. If I see somebody that's on a relatively high scale risk, I can tell what that risk is and what badges they've earned. So I can kind of edge them along to try to earn that badge for that particular risk that they're in. Finally, that same type of information can be shown in a map type setting. So as you can see, fortunately, we don't have any risk, but if there was a high risk, it would be shaded in this area, and I could tell exactly who it was in that particular area that may be in danger, people that I'm watching over or people that are watching over me. And then finally, I can also see kind of the historic view of that particular risk. So we had some tornado risk recently in this area, and I can see that it's popped back down rather rapidly. So I prepared myself. I'm monitoring my risk. I know when things are coming. The last big feature of the app is really how do you facilitate communication? So it's, we're seeing a lot more folks communicating via Facebook. Katrina, you can see all these Facebook and people are monitoring that. But what if people aren't on Facebook? So for instance, my parents, they have a Facebook account, but they're not on it very much. What we've done is we've built in the functionality to sort of utilize Facebook's communication, but also adding together you can add in your cell phone number. So now if I'm to go to click an emergency type alert, what'll happen, assuming my lifelines have set up their cell phone number, they'll actually get pinged on that. And it's not necessarily that there's an imminent disaster, but maybe just something that we're watching over or something you want to better communicate, because my family will typically know of, hey, I'm in a hurricane type area, and based on the news, they can kind of see those things coming. Also, the app will, if the risk level goes up based on those feeds that I mentioned previously, if those go up, it'll actually ping text messages to you and your lifelines that there may be a cause for concern. But in this particular case, let's say I've gone here, I can pre-establish my meeting place, and I'll just say, storm's on its way, no problems so far. And then I can trigger that, and what happens is all my lifelines now have just received a text message. They can start responding to me. That text message or email, depending on the settings that they've set up, quickly shows where my planned meeting place is, what the roles are, any phone numbers to help contact, what role they should play, other lifelines of mine, even if they don't know each other, but they're connected via Facebook, via the fact that they're all my lifelines, and we share all the numbers for them so that they could get together and say, hey, how can we help out Greg in this particular situation? I can start to post status updates. I can include photos, videos, things of that nature, but this is where you can start to communicate out from one to many to get out that word, whether it's good news or bad news. So I'll say, storm looks okay, waiting it out. And then those folks can respond either via text message or directly on the app if they happen to be on the app, or via Facebook. And we create that circle where we can then communicate more effectively using the app rather than sort of the general Facebook type communication. And then most importantly, I can actually end the emergency as well. So those are the key features of the application itself.
So Greg, one of the things that I'm doing right now is that you've just sent me an alert. I notice you're in DC, so I'm going to respond to you really quickly here and tell you that I'm in the same alert area, so it should show up here momentarily. But one of the things, ladies and gentlemen, that as we move forward with this application, as we look to try to build on the value of social media, leveraging both public and private data, this particular application will not truly bring value if we as humans don't get activated. So the call to action is for each individual to look within, to ask themselves, who within their social circle can be benefited from connecting with their lifeline, so as they move about their day-to-day activities in their life, travel, vacation, school, etc., they have the extended human circle, and if your extended friends, to bring about that level of recovery that's important during a natural disaster. Preparation is absolutely the key as we think about maintaining communities of resilience and moving forward with the greatness of what this country has been putting forth. So we thank you today for listening in to our overview of bReddi, and we have a few minutes here to take a question or so from the floor.
Dr. Lurie's in the back.
Any questions? Well, one thing I'll share with you is that I'll leave you with is that as you go online to bReddi.com and look for future enhancements, we are going to be evolving the solution or the app 1.0 to the next generation of adding in live chat and live community, which is really focused on relaying the resources around the community, around social circles, where we can connect to one another with captains of those particular teams. And so in the spirit of our origin in Las Vegas, we'll be passing out some of our gaming chips, recognizing bReddi as one of the best places to bet on life, and let's not gamble with humanity. So we appreciate your time today. Thank you very much.
Okay, I think we're all set, but thank you guys for hanging out with us today. I think if you take away anything from this session is that some of these guys who just presented, and ladies who just presented in front of you, weren't even a company a couple months ago, and now they've just managed to, get that itch and leave their day jobs and go create some really fascinating tools for, the American public. And that kind of inclination to join a hackathon or a codeathon, and we're seeing so much of this build up in spaces like Milwaukee and Lafayette and North Carolina, and we're kind of doing this around the country tour trying to see where these pockets of activity are, and they're everywhere. So what we are doing is continuing to encourage this type of development. You're going to see a lot more of this in the future. This is just a small yet awesome sample of what we have to offer and what we've evaluated. And thank you guys all for joining us, and I'll see you soon. Thank you.